Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Round Robin. I'm your host, Tracy Preston, along with Christine Mulligan, Nina Mulligan, Regina Lindsay, and Angela Hafler. Hey, everyone.
Hello, Governor. Ciao, y'all.
Hello.
What's up?
Hello. Did it stuck in your mouth or what?
Well, I mean, okay, I needed the laugh. Thanks.
You are welcome. All right, so today I saw a news clip. I was fishing through, finding some little topics for us to talk about. And so I found this great news clip about this great white shark. So I'm like, oh, yeah, it's summertime. So we're gonna be talking about stuff in the water today. So there was this great white shark 22 miles off the coast of North Carolina. And I guess that kind of took me back. I didn't think we had great whites in the Atlantic.
Of course.
Great white?
I didn't think it was cold enough for them. I thought they were
cold. No, the cold water fish. That's Pacific Ocean.
Yeah. All the ocean is pretty damn cold. Go check it. Is it cold in North Carolina?
No.
It's hot as balls in Florida.
There's great whites in all of the oceans. Large oceans.
Okay, cool.
I had no idea. I thought this was more of a California, West Coast kind of a thing. But so now I learned that today.
Jaws was a great white, and Jaws, the movie, was based on stories from New England.
Oh, that's true.
Really?
That's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Damn it. It just never registered.
That makes sense because New England would be, again, cold.
Yeah.
The ocean is cold.
But colder. There are warm pockets of ocean.
Yeah, near coast.
But North Carolina, they wouldn't consider it the same kind of temperature as New England.
Yeah.
In the winter, yeah.
Wow. Yep. So anyway, news to me. So this was a scientific team that they've been tagging this great white, right? And so I'm just looking at this picture. I'm like, oh my God, that's so freaking scary because they've got it, up to the boat and they've got a big measuring tape around it. I'm like, hell no, I would not be that close to that great white's mouth. No way, no how. And it was first tagged back in January, and since then it's traveled like 2,000 miles. And he's the largest male caught to date, but he's a young adult male. So on average, these great white males can be anywhere from 16 to 18 feet, but the females are bigger, 18 to 20 feet. And I think I recall knowing that the females were bigger. I thought it was just very scientifically interesting. So I'm going to just talk about a few things and share some facts about great whites I didn't know. Some of them I knew, some of I didn't. So I wanted to see what you guys thought about it. All right, so they tag the dorsal fin, which is for satellite, and it pings its location whenever it comes to the surface. And then they take that data and they load it up on the Global Shark Tracker. And did you guys know that anybody can look that information up? Anybody.
Mm-mm.
You don't have to have special credentials. I didn't know that at all.
I haven't ever looked.
Yeah, I think I'm going to definitely take a peek and see what's going on because I just found that really interesting. I didn't know. I thought, who knows? You had to be a scientist and have certain credentials or whatever. But I just thought that was super cool. And then they have another tag that shows how deep they dive and the temperature that they prefer to be in. And then there's even a tag that they put internally into the shark, and that gives finer movement information. And I just thought, well, holy shit, that's pretty interesting. So like I said, it's the largest male that they've ever tagged. So I want to talk about some facts about great whites.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a learning show today. All right, so they give birth anywhere from 4 to 7 babies at a time, and they're called pups. Then they're live births. We all know that. Pretty much anything that I've ever seen be born in the ocean, that shit's live. They come out and they're swimming. So they're anywhere from, it says 1.2 to 1.5 meters, but that's actually like a 4-foot baby. Bam! You got a handful of those at one time. They are pregnant for roughly 18 months, and that's important. They take 10 to 12 years to reach maturity. The largest female is roughly 6 meters or 24 to 26 feet long. That's a big damn shark. and weighs about 6,000 pounds. Interesting, right? And then they're also, I didn't know this, but they are like a warm-blooded animal. But the reason they are warm-blooded is because they have an internal organ temperature that's kept about 24 degrees warmer, Fahrenheit, warmer than the water around them. Do you have an idea of how they do that? Any guesses?
Constantly swimming?
Yeah, because they're using they're just like big fat muscle, and that pumps and makes things warm, and that's how they keep their organs warm. And that's what allows them to go really, really deep. I found that interesting. I didn't know that. They like to hunt during the day because their eyesight, they need to see prey, but of course when they go to bite it, right, their eyes always roll back. I always thought like an eyelid came up, but apparently they roll their eyes on back to protect their eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to stay quiet because you got to remember, I raised my kids in Orlando, so you have no idea how many times I've been to SeaWorld. I know all of these facts.
Okay, then you hush. Shush.
I will just stay quiet because I've been to SeaWorld Shark Exhibit 1 to 10,000 many times.
So I'm not telling you anything. All right, well, hopefully I'm going to find something new.
Well, you're telling everybody else, though, so that's good. I was just explaining why I'm going to be completely quiet. I'm not going to just, yes, you did that. Yes, of course. We know that. We know SeaWorld.
All right, well, what about this one? Let's see. Did you ever hear that people hunt sharks because of their anti-cancer properties in their fins? Have you ever heard about?
No, but I know it makes you horny.
Yeah.
That's why they eat it over there. That's why they eat it over there.
Yeah.
They grind it up.
Wait, where's over there?
In Asia, in most of Asia, they do that. The shark fin.
Yeah, and that's been a long-standing Asian thing for anti-cancer properties.
Well, guess what?
They basically, Asians use like every part of everything they kill.
Right, which is
So
good.
If it doesn't have a scientifically proven thing, they make something up, I'm sure.
Gotcha. Well, guess what? It's a misconception. Sharks can get cancer. So if people are hunting them for their fins for that purpose, they're wasting their time. They can get cancer.
Like I said, they make shit up. Just like the horns, like the ivory tusks and stuff. Yes, they started
Rhinoceros horns.
butchering those animals for ivory to make pianos and such, but then all of a sudden the ivory became medicinal in some way. It's just malarkey.
It's a bunch of malarkey. All right.
Malarkey.
And so there's one last misconception about great whites. They do not cruise the beach looking to bite people. They like deeper water. So I found that interesting. But the reason I wanted to say that the gestation period takes about 18 months, so close to 2 years, it's another reason why people shouldn't be killing sharks, because it takes them 2 to 3 years to be able to reproduce. It takes a long time. And then it takes 10 to 12 years for them to reach maturity. So advocating to please leave the sharks alone. I don't like it. I don't like that people hunt that shit. We need them in the water. And then, since we had that conversation, because it's really been on my mind that we had the SeaWorld conversation, right? So, and I just keep thinking about, I remember listening to what Nina was saying, how anything that big, or any creature for that matter, that's locked in a small area, they go nuts, right? So it really made me start thinking more and more about the orcas. So I wanted to look up a little more information. So I know, Christine, you know a lot about them, but I'm hoping I found some interesting new tidbits for you. So orcas, also called, their real name is Orcanis orca, but we call them killer whales, right? And I never really understood why we call them killer whales. And it was because the ancient sailors saw them hunting large whales, and then they actually called them whale killer. Did you know that? I don't know why we switched it around.
Yes.
Damn
I
it.
knew it. Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to find something. Did you also know that they are part of the dolphin family?
Yeah, that's why
Damn it.
the black and white dolphins are called false killer whales.
Oh, see, I didn't know
forgot,
that.
I grew up. I grew up and was born in Florida.
Yeah.
We took a field trip at least twice a year to SeaWorld for like 10 years of school. So I probably know a lot of this stuff. But I love that you're telling everybody because it's fun and I love SeaWorld.
Okay. All right. So I'm advocating. All right. So unlike great whites, the male orcas are bigger than the females. And get this, the largest orca ever recorded was 32 feet long and weighed 22,000 pounds. That blew my mind. 32 feet long, 22,000 pounds. All right. I also found this interesting is that they are the top of the food chain. There is not one single animal that hunts them. Well, one, and that's a human. We're not good people. And in fact, a whale can take down, an orca can take down whales much larger than them, such as is it a minke or mink whale? And those babies get up to 26 to 35 feet long. They're huge. They're huge. Now, I did see a documentary, I don't know, years and years ago, and I'm not the one. I don't like to watch any movies about animals because there's always bad, and I can't handle it. I know I'm going to cry. I'm going to be a fat fucking crying baby about it. But for some reason, I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this one. And it was interesting because it showed you how, I don't even know how they got this footage, but there were two orcas that were pushing out a big whale. It may have even been one of these minkies. It was huge. Pushing out this big mother whale with her pup. Is that right? I think they call them pups. Mm-hmm. And pushing them out further and making them swim to tire them out. And then, like, you could see once, of course, the baby was getting really tired. And then the mom was, my heart's breaking already. So, and then they just ram the whale. They'll just come at it like a freaking boxer. Boom! They just run into it and into it and into it. It's very interesting, but it was sad for me to watch. But I did it. So I just was like, I'll never watch that again.
Yeah, it is super sad to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Even like when the killer whales round up seals and stuff. I hate watching that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nature.
Brutal.
It happens.
Yeah.
I'm sure if an alien race was watching us farm cattle, they'd be like, seriously, people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just a brutal thing to think about. But
yeah,
here we are on a Malice show.
Yeah.
Talking about malice in the ocean.
We just did malice on some lobsters on Friday. I really did think about it for a second because they're super cute. And I was like, man, we're murderers. But then I thought, if the rules were reversed and it was a 5'2" lobster and I was a special treat, he'd probably eat me.
He's like, come here, you girl, you.
I my kids with it, but I do feel kind of bad.
Yeah, and I'm gonna rabbit hole for a real quick second. So when I lived in South Florida, Burt Reynolds had him and when he was married to Lonnie Anderson, they had a restaurant, and it was I used to be like the hostess there, and they had a stage and all that kind of stuff. Christine, do you remember that? That was probably back. I think you were in Florida back then in the early '90s. Do you ever remember their restaurant?
I came down here a lot, but I wasn't living here then.
No. Okay. Well, the only reason I bring it up is because this older couple, came in, because this was in, I'm trying to think if this was in Jupiter. It may have been in Jupiter. I just can't remember. It's been a long time ago. But anyway, this older couple came in specifically for lobster, and it was not the special that night, but they were like, okay, we're going to do this for you. So they sent me to Publix. And I had to go pick out a couple of nice lobsters, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, no problem, no big deal. I bought those lobster, and I'm like driving back to the restaurant, and I'm like, my heart is breaking because like you could hear them, they were moving around in there, and all of a sudden they were dead silent, quiet, like they just weren't moving. And I'm like, oh my God, they know that I am taking them to their death. I was not in the right frame of mind for the rest of the night. I'm like, oh no, that's bad. Because you got to cook them live. Like you guys cooked them live. Like you actually went and bought them and you put them right in, didn't you?
Yeah, let's not discuss it.
Don't they like squeal
I love
or
eating them, but I really don't like cooking them.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you want really big lobsters, it is the best way to go and get huge lobsters from the seafood place and come home and throw them in the boiler.
Yeah.
You know?
I did that with
Did you
crabs.
stab them in the head first?
No, you just throw them in
I thought
there.
you're supposed
We
to.
chilled them.
No, I was gonna say a lot of people will put the tip of the knife through their.
I've seen
head
that. I've heard.
first.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that. What's worse?
I give up.
You do it?
Either way, it's murder. It's murder. It's still murder.
I've never cooked a lobster. I've only eaten lobster.
Yep.
So
I
I'm
don't
an
know.
accessory after the fact.
Anyway, that was my little lobster story. All right, so back to the facts. So there is absolutely zero record of an orca ever killing a human being in the wild. And we've already talked about that. Of course, in captivity it happens because they go a little nutty, right? They're very social. We know that. They live in groups called pods, sometimes up to 50 whales in this pod. This one I thought was really cool, too, is that it's made up of mothers and their descendants. Matrilines is what it's called. And a male whale will stay with its mother for life. I found that very interesting.
Talk about a mama's boy.
Exactly.
And a female orca can live up to 50 years, and some have lived up to 100 years. That also blew my mind.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Is she still having babies at 100?
I don't know. I didn't see that in the information I looked up, but wow, wouldn't that be interesting?
I need to know that before I pick what I want to reincarnate into next time, because I don't want to be doing that, having babies at 100 years old. No, thank you.
I know. Don't they have menopause? What the hell?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Probably they are mammals.
Yeah, they're mammals.
Now, another thing I found interesting is, again, like the great whites, I thought that the orcas were only where it was really cold, but they're not. They're in warm water. They're in the North Pole and South Pole region and by the equator. They're literally in every ocean.
I think I've seen videos of them, off the coast of Hawaii and various places.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe my head's been under a rock. I'm like, oh my God, if I don't know this, maybe other people don't know it.
Hey, Chase.
Hey,
so orcas, they can reproduce for about 25 years starting around age 15 and experience menopause around age 40.
Holy
So
hell.
like people.
Yep. It means a female orca might have about 5 surviving calves in their lifetime.
Wow. Thank you. See? This is good for everybody.
So the real question is, do they get PMS?
Oh, Angela.
Probably.
Of course they do. Why do you think they got the nickname Killer Whale?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You don't want to piss off a female orca.
No, orcas do not experience PMS. However, female orcas do have a reproductive cycle with periods of estrus and non-cycling periods. They also experience menopause, which is a unique characteristic among mammals.
Well, there it is.
Right.
They
There you go.
There's some facts.
So maybe when they're attacking the other whales and the shit, they're not PMSing. They're just perimenopausal, and they're like, fuck everybody.
That's me the last couple of days, because I'm telling you, I have not slept worth a shit for the last 2 days. I can't take it right now. It's driving me nuts. All right, so the big question, are orcas endangered? And they say it's hard to tell. Orcas are listed as data deficient, which means their status is unknown. They say that a single species, the orca, is abundant and widely distributed, but they still face threats from humans, of course, we know that, and some of their populations have declined significantly. Now all that information comes from Live Science, and I just thought that was really amazing, and I just want to have that conversation because for some reason, the orcas still haven't left my mind since we had that conversation about SeaWorld, so there you go.
For those that didn't listen to our conversation about SeaWorld, essentially we re-debated the debate about, because that documentary went out, Blackfish.
Yep.
So is SeaWorld a good thing or a bad thing? And it's kind of like everything else in the world, it's a little bit on the spectrum. Because when they rescue animals in the wild that need help, they're great, right? But when they over market and over sensationalize and can't quite give the animal what it needs once it has been rehabilitated, and they start, farming their own characters for their shows, meaning,
Right.
too many live births, then we start to get into a problem. What are we having all these live births for? Go find another orca that's missing a fin. You know what I mean?
Right.
And let them go have babies in the wild.
And then they separate them, they sell off the pups and wonder why mom goes crazy drowning a trainer.
Yeah, exactly. Those, you know what I'm saying? Like, they need a little bit less of that and a lot more of the good that they do. They do a lot of good work in animal rescue and restoration, and they release, just their turtle game in Florida is phenomenal, for the work that they do for all the sea turtles and everything. And then also seals and, all that. And they do a lot of things up in Alaska. People don't associate them up in Alaska, but they have a SeaWorld in Florida and in Texas and California and somewhere else, I think. There's one more place, you know what I mean? But they do work all over the world, you know what I mean? In all of the major oceans. So, it's on a spectrum. They do a lot of good, but, there's some questionable practices. So
Right.
That's what we talk about in a nutshell.
Right. Yep, exactly. Now, we also talked about, and I think it was on the same episode that we talked about the Smithsonian. I don't know if anybody else on this call has been to the Smithsonian, but my favorite part of the Smithsonian was, of course, I don't remember what the museum name was, but, it's where all the dinosaurs are and all that stuff. And did you ever remember seeing that giant squid in that glass encased exhibit with like all the, I don't know what they had embalming fluid. I don't know what was in there. Do you remember seeing that? I just remember being in absolute awe. Like, I think I stood there for at least 30 minutes, maybe. I couldn't stop looking at this thing. I went top to bottom, left to right, over and above, you name it. I looked at it. So anyway, it's just something that I've always remembered, and I was probably 19. Did you guys know that no one has ever seen one of them alive before? They still exist.
Are you sure?
I would love to see it.
Yeah. Well, the reason why...
Oh, well, they found a couple of them deceased, though.
Exactly.
Years there's been a lot.
Yeah.
But nobody's seen them alive, though.
Nobody's
well,
seen...
maybe they're totally camouflaged.
Maybe they are way too low.
Exactly.
They do live deep.
You're right, Nina.
So,
Yeah, they're super, 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 super deep. So as I was going through and looking at all this kind of stuff as I'm fishing through, I found, and it had like the National Geographic, like yellow square, but they actually had a video of it. And it's beautiful. Like, I remember the one at Smithsonian, it was like white because it was dead as shit, but it's red and it's beautiful. It's so, so, so pretty. And it's called a Gonatus antarcticus. And it's never been seen alive before now. So if you guys look for it on the internet, you're going to find it. It's stunning. And it's only found in frigid waters around Antarctica and very deep. So I just found that super interesting. And like you mentioned, Christine, the only way we've seen them in the past is, and the only reason we knew they existed is because their carcasses wash up on shore, or they're found in other animal stomachs. I don't know which kind, like maybe huge whales or something, right? Because I always think of Moby Dick. Remember, there's always that picture with Moby Dick and it's got a giant squid in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With staying in our underwater theme, there has been a recent discovery. Marine experts found the likely remains of an 18th century treasure ship off the coast of Ireland. The name of the ship is also called Recovery. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So these marine experts were led by Edmund O'Brien, and they believe that they found the likely remains of the 18th century British treasure ship off the coast of Wexford, Ireland. The ship, which sank 85 miles south of Dublin, was carrying valuable cargo such as marble, bronze, rare art, and natural curiosities collected by James Caulfield and John Latouche. So when that ship sank, there were 6 people, including the captain, 2 sons, I think his sons. Of course, they all died in the wreck. But they made this discovery by using a side scanner sonar with copper sheathing. They found like copper sheathing on this rudder and timber, confirming its age and identity. I was like, holy crap. Could you imagine being that team? Yeah, this baby's supposed to be loaded with all kinds of stuff. So far, they found like a teapot and some ink wells. You know, they believe they are still going to find other items that are going to be in pretty good condition. They found the anchor, of course, timber fittings. Like I mentioned, the rudder was covered in copper. And they say it may be the only 18th century copper-covered rudder that's ever been found. They've searched far and wide, and nobody can tell them that one has ever been found in existence, period. Now, the ship was built in 1773 and sank in 1787. I would be out of my freaking mind. I would love to be a part of that. Wouldn't that be so fun?
That would be cool.
So it'll be interesting to find out, like, you know, what kind of historical artifacts they're going to pull from the ship or around the ship. I hope they find some cool stuff. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be fun to find out what they find on it. Like treasure ship, and you're like, oh, they found some cool stuff like a teapot.
I know, I'm like, well, where's the treasure?
Yeah, they found a teapot and a copper udder.
That one teapot will be worth like $10 million, and nobody will own it. It'll just sit inside a museum.
Yep. Yeah. And then talking about finding some cool stuff, the Wisconsin Historical Society also just announced the discovery of a 19th century tugboat in our very own Lake Michigan. All things come back to Michigan.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then I keep scrolling, and then I came across, you know, this boat, and there's this dog, you know, it's a golden retriever, and it's just like barking away. And this is in Maui, Hawaii. This dog's got a great life. Anyway, it's sticking his head over the boat, and it's barking at a blue whale. And it was so cool because I'm just watching it. It's like this blue whale was interacting with this dog. It was calm. It just kept poking its head up, like really checking the dog out, gently rolling over, like waving its little flappers at him. Never like splash its tail really hard. It was just the most gentlest curiosity. And I just thought, oh my God, you know, I'm just looking at the comparison. You got a golden retriever, and then you've got this ginormous blue whale just interacting with one another. I just thought it was really cool.
And I'm just sitting here thinking my dumbass dog would just jump over the side of the boat and try to play with the whale, even though she's a French bulldog and they can't swim.
Maybe
I
not.
would have smelled her and figured she was dead already. I don't know.
Yeah, she's like, you are one stinky ass dog.
Right? But yeah, did you know that French bulldogs can't swim?
No. Is it the only dog
Yeah.
that can't swim?
I don't know if it's the only dog. I imagine that English bulldogs can't really swim either, but it's because of the density of their muscles are so heavy, and they're also brachiocephalic, so they can't keep their heads above water and they'll drown.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So anybody who has a little Frenchie, you better be careful. Don't let him jump in the water.
And she attacks the lawn sprinkler, but that's about it.
Right. Well, that's safe. The other thing that I saw, oh my God, I fell in love with this. So I want to ask you guys, like, what, right? Because baby animals are like the cutest damn thing ever. Like, do you guys have the cutest baby animal that you want to throw out there?
All of them.
I know.
I have a special place in my heart for bunnies. I like baby bunnies.
Aw, yeah.
Mainly because I had bunnies when I was really young. I think it was my first pet actually. But my grandfather was mowing up at our property up in the country. Yeah, and accidentally killed its mother. And because he was mowing with a tractor and like a brush hog, he couldn't see the grass was really tall. And so he brought the baby bunny home, and we kept and fed it with an eyedropper until it got big enough to like eat on its own. Yeah, It was really cute. His name was Samson.
What about you, Angela? Do you have a favorite baby animal?
Yeah. One of my favorite animals is an octopus. And I just think the little babies are the cutest little things ever.
Octopus are cool.
They're extremely smart.
Yeah.
And I just think they're really neat creatures.
I have to agree with you, and I'll speak up for Todd. He'd probably go for that one as well.
Yeah, I'm a big octopus fan as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I like seahorses too.
Oh, seahorses are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today I saw a newborn baby pygmy hippo, and I fell in love with that thing.
Shut up. Nope. That's my most favorite animal of all time. Don't even go there. I know all the facts.
I
know them all.
Give me a fact. Give me some facts. Give me some facts.
They can unhinge their mouth to 180 degrees. They have more pounds per square inch than a great white shark. They kill more animals in the Serengeti than any other animal combined. They can swim, I think up to 50 miles per hour shortly in the water, and they can run on land up to 35 miles an hour as well. They're the deadliest animal in Africa.
You know what? I asked and I got it.
And they are a communal group of animals, and they spend all of their time during the day licking on each other to show affection. But they do eat their young. So,
say what?
They will, yes. If it's a runt or if it's not
good
enough, they will
holy
eat it.
shit! Well,
Like nurses.
like the mean nurses. I never did
joke,
that.
Right? We eat our young.
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
that was nice.
Yeah, that was when I was getting into nurses. That
Mhm.
nursing, that was the big thing. Is I see you nurses eat their young,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, ain't nobody. Mm-mm.
Yeah, nobody ate me. They tried. I'm like, no, bitch.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Not today. That's right. I said it.
What are we talking about?
You started it with the licking.
Absolutely nothing.
You're like, they just lick each other all day long to show affection.
I get it.
Nobody tried to eat me. That's what she said.
I'm sorry.
Try a washcloth.
Listen,
That was bad.
I said they tried to eat me. They tried. And I said, no, bitch.
Rude.
My shit's clean.
Yeah, they were mean. Yeah, Nina wasn't understanding. She was like, what are you talking about? Nurses, they're young. And I had to explain to her, like new nurses being
Yeah.
babies. Yeah.
I never
Older
understood it.
They knew everything in the world. New nurses would be like looked down on when they were, back in the day. I hope it has come a long way everywhere, because I know my constituents, my coworkers that I've had over the past 10 years or so are more encouraging to new nurses.
I have to agree.
That was when I began. When I began, they be bitches.
Oh, it was brutal. Well, I was a nurse in 2001 in the unit, and I worked with some, I came straight into the unit, and I worked with a lot of older nurses, and they were pissed as hell. It's like, we had to get in the trenches. We had to work med surg. We had to work our way up here. And I'm like, well, too fucking bad for you. Why are you mad at me?
Right?
I meant to be here, so shut up. I pulled my weight. But it's true, they can be brutal. Anyway, so yeah, that baby little pygmy hippo, I just couldn't get over it. Its ears are so tiny and it's just hopping around. It looked like a big shiny turd. With little stubby legs. Wow. And I'm like, oh my God, you're the cutest little thing I've ever seen. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Nina.
Excuse me, ma'am. If your turds are gray, you need to go get checked.
Do they sink or float?
Her bile duct is blocked. I don't know what's going on there.
Thanks for letting me just go on and on about the great whites and the orcas. It was a big educational day for me. So I was like, fuck it. We're going to do it.
Well, it was very good for all Michiganders that don't get to SeaWorld as often as Floridians do, or Texans, because the SeaWorld in Texas is kind of cool too. I've been there.
Yeah, it's all right.
So the Michiganders have been educated now, Trace. Good job.
Thank you. So was there anything that I didn't say that you think we should know about? Like, is there any other little tidbits of education?
I mean, when you were talking about that great whites and how they don't like cruise the shore looking for people to bite, and that's true, they don't. And, usually when humans encounter them, it's kind of in deeper water, and it's because they don't have great eyesight. And like somebody on a surfboard, a person with a wetsuit on a surfboard, if you've got poor vision and you're under the water, kind of looks like a seal. And that's how people mistakenly get bitten.
Right.
And sharks don't, as well, great whites, from what I remember from documentary that I watched, was that they don't especially like the taste of people, which is why, they'll bite somebody's arm off, but they don't come back and eat them. They don't, they accidentally bite someone's arm off and they're like, oh, that's nasty, and spit it out and just go away.
I always thought, I didn't know it was the taste. I always thought we were too bony.
Yeah, no, they don't like the taste of people.
Well,
that's
good.
What the scientists are saying.
That's good.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they won't bite you in the first place because they can't see for shit. But if they do bite you, they'll spit you out.
Well, that's good. I think that would be the most frightening thing ever, to be bitten by a shark.
Yeah.
I could imagine it. Oh, and there was one other thing I wanted to say about, how they have the internal organs that are warm. That also helps them with the power that they use to shoot up to the surface, right? Because that's the other thing about them. Like on the top, they're dark, and on the bottom, they're white. So that kind of helps disguise them for any prey that they're going after, because you can't see them. You look down and it's dark. That's why their bellies are white.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, does anybody have anything they want to say before we get on to our movie recommendation? All right. So how about we start with Angela?
So my recommendation, and it may not be for everybody, but I enjoyed it. It's called Goliath with Billy Bob Thornton. And it's about, he used to be like a really successful lawyer, and he kind of was a washout kind of guy or whatever, but he got talked into doing this big old case, and there's a lot of twists and turns and death threats on them, and it turned into like this huge ordeal. And I think there's only like 3 seasons. I enjoyed it just because I like lawyer stuff too, and crime stuff, and it kind of all intertwined, and it was kind of cool.
I love Billy Bob Thornton. So that's a series. And is that on Netflix?
It's on YouTube Prime Video. In Prime Video. Like if you have Amazon Prime, you can get it on that.
Okay. And what was the name of it again?
Goliath.
Goliath. I love Billy Bob Thornton. I'm going to have to look that one up.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We got into it. A friend of ours recommended it, and it was really cool. I was kind of impressed by it.
All right. Very good. What about you, Regina?
I'm a nerd, and I pretty much always watching documentaries. And this one's been around for a minute, but I don't think a lot of people have seen it because I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. But it's called Tell Me Who I Am on Netflix, and it's based on a book of the same name. And basically the story is, and it's a true story. It's a 100% true story. So there are 2 identical twins, and when they're 18 years old, one of them gets into a motorcycle accident, and he's in a coma for about 3 weeks. And when he wakes up, he has no memory of even like who he is. He has no memory of anything except the only person he recognizes is his twin brother. So the one that was in a coma, his name is Alex, and his brother's name is Marcus. And so his brother goes about trying to kind of reacclimate him to the world as he's, doesn't really remember much of anything. And they live in a shed on their family's property. Their family's really, really wealthy, but they live in a shed and they're not allowed to have a key to the house, which is odd. And Alex notices like his dad's really distant and kind of mean. But anyway, as his twin brother is kind of telling him about their life, he omits a lot of stuff, and he paints this picture for his twin of like a happy family and a happy childhood. And it turns out, they find out about 25 years later, both of their parents have passed away, and they're going through this big house. And Alex starts finding odd things here and there, finding pictures, and he finds in a secret cabinet in his mom's room, like a cabinet full of sex toys. And he starts asking questions, and he asks his brother if they were abused, and brother says yes, but refuses to really give him any of the details. And so this documentary kind of goes through the fact of Alex trying to figure out what really happened to them when they were children and growing up, and his twin brother not wanting to give him the details because partially he's trying to protect his brother from the horrors that they grew up dealing with, but also because he's protecting himself by not sharing that information and painting this picture of like the happy family and the happy childhood. It allows him to suppress his own memories. Wow. And not have to deal with those things. And so when they do the documentary, they're in their 30s. And Marcus finally comes clean with his brother about everything. And he still doesn't have the conversation face-to-face. In fact, he records his interview and has his brother watch it with the production crew because he just doesn't want to tell all the details. But it turns out that their mom severely abused both of them and then was part of a child sex trafficking ring and used to drive them across England to the homes of male friends, just one of them at a time, never both of them together, one of them at a time. And they would spend the weekend with these men who would rape them and abuse them. And that continued until they were 14. When Marcus fought back and I guess beat the crap out of one of the guys, and then it stopped. But that's why they're living in the shed outside and can't be in the house. But anyway, It's really, it's very intense and it's very graphic. So just keep that in mind if you go to watch it. If you're somebody that has been in a situation like that or struggles to watch or deal with things like that, especially knowing that it's all true, it's really graphic and intense, and it can be triggering. But it was a really good movie. And, for me, it's always trying to reconcile the psychology of how much Marcus must have loved Alex to try to protect him and not tell him that and want him to have just the happy memories of their childhood, but then also how Alex felt really betrayed, finding out later on all these horrible things that happened, and just trying to reconcile the two halves of that.
That sounds like a really good one, and I think I'm definitely going to watch that. Wow. And as you were going through it, I just kept thinking he loves his brother so much to protect him like that. Wow.
It makes you think about it because if somebody that you knew had a really horribly abusive upbringing and they had absolutely no memory of anything and you could protect them from relearning that, would you do it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I would.
I would tell them the whole story and focus on the lessons learned from it.
Yeah, I can see that point. Well, you think that he might...
If you only know the good of your life, you're not going to appreciate any more good. It's just going to be status quo. And it actually could be very depression-inducing if everything was so great before and now it's all shit, because he's not functioning right. He's just getting back on his feet, literally and figuratively. I don't know. I think that would be a little bit of a mind bender.
Yeah.
Well, I think we even discussed it on an earlier podcast on one of the first round robins. I'm not sure, but it was really good. I don't know if I would. Maybe.
Yeah, I think
I would.
That he was really also protecting himself because he wasn't really having to own it. Mm-hmm. Because now he can make it disappear because his parents are gone and his brother doesn't remember. great.
Right. Well, the parents were alive at the point that he made the decision not to tell his brother the truth. And I think it was, it's stopped
Right.
now. Let's pretend it never happened. But the good news is that they both grew up to be very functional, very loving, caring husbands and fathers. And,
Right.
that's the good news.
I mean, I would
They
have.
did the work.
Yeah. I would have thought that he would have said, well, why are we living in a shed? Why are mom and dad in the beautiful house and we're in the shed?
Point of reference. He had no point of reference, though. I mean, he literally remembered nothing.
Wow.
So, he just had no point of reference to even question, like, hey, this is weird.
Right. Interesting. Tell me who I am. I'm writing that down. I got to watch that. Thank you, Regina. All right, Christina, Nina, what do you guys got?
All right, Nina, you want to go first?
Yes. So there's a show on Netflix. It's called You Can't Ask That. And it's a documentary show. It has 5 seasons. And it comes out of Australia. And it's basically like any topic you can think of. Like drag queens, priests, sex workers, drug addicts, I don't know, any kind of like person that might have Down syndrome or skin issues, or they tried to kill themselves. So it's like a broad spectrum of people, and they get questions that you wouldn't normally ask in public that people have like requested that they answer, and they are very candid questions, and then they answer them. It's actually pretty cool. Like at first I put it on kind of just as like background noise because I was doing something else, and then I found myself like becoming really intrigued with, because I think some of these questions are probably questions people have in their minds when they come across these kinds of individuals, but nobody really ever asks them. So I don't know. I thought
Because they're rude usually.
yeah,
Right.
but I think what's cool about it is that the way that the people answer it, it's a rude question, but even when they answer it, it helps build empathy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they show so much humility when they answer questions that would be considered rude,
So do they?
I don't know.
So do
They're
they?
cool little shows.
So do they receive like they're just questions that are written in and then they present them to people?
Yeah. So like an example, I watched the priest one, and one of the questions that the audience asked was, why do you work for an organization that has so many pedophiles? How do you keep your faith when you know that's going on? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think, is that necessarily a rude question? I don't think so, because we know that that's true, but it may not be a question that you think you can ask or would ask because there's not an appropriate time to ask it. So it was actually pretty cool, because they end up answering it, and they're only like 22 minutes long.
Oh, cool.
So it was like real quick. So yeah.
So is it
cool.
like they're on stage, like with an audience?
No,
Oh,
they're
okay.
just in the studio, and then
Gotcha.
these participants have written in the questions, and so they read those questions and then they answer it. And I don't know, you might want to put on the subtitles because they are from Australian. So sometimes I have a difficulty understanding what they say, just because I'm hard of hearing. So, but if you are kind of like me, like I always have to have subtitles on even when it's in English, because my brain just doesn't comprehend it if I'm just staring at the actual thing as it's going. So
Gotcha. Well, I wrote that down too. This is going to be great because whenever we either we watch a series and then that gets done, we're like, oh my god, what are we going to watch now? Because it's kind of our thing at night. That's our downtime. You know what I mean? So I'm writing all this shit down. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have 2 things.
Okay.
But neither one are on Netflix, unfortunately. One is on Hulu.
Okay.
And there is a Disney movie. Okay, so the Hulu one is actually, it's not really our age, but I find it interesting being our age of older children to watch the show, because it's like you get an insight into how 20-somethings start out life once they leave the nest, right? So the show is called Adults, and it's on Hulu, and it's essentially about 4 roommates that share a house, and they're out. It's their first, after college, they started renting this house together. One of the guys in the group of 4, it's actually his parents' house. So it's the house he grew up in, but now his parents are like traveling the world, and he lives in the house and rents out, to 3 of his friends. And just the way they're going about life, like the things that happen to them, which are normal, everyday kind of things, some a little bit sitcom-y, you know what I mean? Because it's a show, right? But the way they have to navigate and watching them learn how to do the most simplistic day-to-day things, like writing a check to someone that they have to pay for a bill, but they've never written a check before, and they're like 29 years old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, that's just one example, but I'm finding it hella interesting. It only has 1 season. It just came out in 2025. And I don't think I finished the whole season yet, but I'm a good 4 or 5 episodes in, and I'm still liking it. It's really good.
Okay.
And I find it enlightening to see their struggle, because there's a lot of things that parents think we teach our kids, but then you're like, oh yeah, I could see how that got missed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like so much they don't know, but yet here they are, adults living in the world,
And they got to get it figured out.
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy. It's actually a really interesting show.
Okay.
I kind of love it.
It's funny too.
Yeah, it's a comedy.
Okay.
It's sick.
It's
Yeah.
like Friends, but for like that generation.
Exactly.
Okay.
But less, but it's more, I feel like,
It's a little less scripted.
and it has, more of today's themes going on in it too, which
Yeah.
I think could be cool for an older audience so that they can maybe understand where some of the younger people are coming from on that aspect as well.
Yeah, it is
Social thing.
That's a good way to describe it. It's a new age Friends set in a different city, and instead of an apartment, it's house,
And they all live together.
and they all live together. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a good show. It's called Adults.
Got
Check
it.
it out.
On Hulu.
Pretty good.
Okay. What's your other
Yeah,
one?
so that's a good one for the young folks, because they'll just find it like we liked Friends.
Mhm.
And for the older folks, it's a whole new, it's very enlightening. I'm enjoying it. Okay, but then on Disney Channel, I think we all slept on this movie because I vaguely remember when they did it and it came out. Snow White with Gal Gadot as the wicked, stepmother. I don't remember the name of the young actress that played Snow White, but it's the movie Snow White.
It's the new one.
Yeah, it's the new one. I vaguely remember when it came out in the theaters, and then there was this big hullabaloo, apparently, because then I had to look it up. Like, I'm like, why did I not see this? You know what I mean? Because, we grew up on all that Disney crap, right? So it's good for all ages.
Right.
Because we grew up on it. So, of course, you're going to check out the new one, even if it's good, bad, or indifferent. You're going to check it out because, you grew up on it. And for the younger people, it's kind of introducing it to them as well, whatever. So it's it runs the spectrum on age as well. But I don't know why we slept on this. I do understand that there was some controversy about, I think, an Israel controversy or something with the star of it. I don't really remember what her stance was. I started to look it up, and I was like, I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. As soon as I found out it was about that. And then also there was some kind of thing that people were up in arms because of her race playing Snow White. So I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole either, because I didn't want to get all mad.
Right.
And then there was also some other controversy about something about Gal Gadot she did something also. So the thing is that they didn't promote it. They didn't promote this movie at all. It went out into the theaters with no promotion because of all of the, side social media hullabaloo. But let me tell you, I watched it on Disney Plus, whatever, the Disney app thing, couple nights ago. And I loved it. It is the generic Snow White story, like it wasn't changed at all. Like, Snow White and the Huntsman, which was a movie about Snow White, came out 10, 12 years ago, whatever. They changed that story up a little bit to make it more,
modern?
More, yeah.
Okay.
This is very basic. It's the very basic Snow White story, and it goes pretty fast. It didn't lag. It didn't drag too long. It does have, it is, I guess they would classify it as a musical because it busts into song every once in a while. But I feel like it was kind of moderate. So I'm not big on musical. I like musicals. I'll watch them, but I don't love them. I won't go out of my way for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But even the songs that it busted into, they were so familiar because they were all the songs from back then that you kind of got kind of tap-toey. I mean, who doesn't tap their toes to hi-ho, hi-ho? You know what I'm saying?
I'm dancing in my seat right now.
It's really cool. It brought me back to being a little kid a couple times during the movie because of those things. I think it was well done. It didn't drag out. And bravo. Like, I was like, oh my God, why wasn't this? Like, we slept on that movie. Society at large slept on that movie because it was super cute.
Well,
super cute.
You're right. I remember seeing zero about it. The only way I knew about it was when I was in, when I was working in California. And it was the same trip that Lauren and I went to the Menendez brothers' house. We drove through to Beverly Hills. And so, like, as you're going through, like, the downtown area, Beverly Hills area, that's the only place I ever saw a billboard for it because that's where they have all their stuff. You know what I mean? Like, all the new movies. I was like, oh, what is that? And Lauren was telling me about it. And she was kind of saying that, there was a bunch of, bad publicity around it and this and that. And that was the only time I ever saw anything about that movie that was coming.
Yeah. But after I watched it, I have my own ideas about why that might have gotten lambasted. And if you watch it, when you're done watching it, or probably halfway through, you're probably going to say, I know exactly what Christine was talking about, because the messaging and the vibe of the story is very Disney-esque,
Mm-hmm.
It's very love everything, love everybody, do the right thing. So the messaging is love everything, love everybody, do the right thing. Don't be like the wicked stepmother. You know what I mean? The wicked queen or whatever.
Right.
So, it does have a little bit of that same messaging that I really think that might have been one of the reasons why, because we were in a touchy place, back then as well. I don't know. I mean, that was my own opinion and my own vibe. I didn't look that part up at all because I kind of didn't want to I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole either.
Right.
Because what I did look up, it was like the Israel thing, the Palestine thing. Gal Gadot had some kind of ties that people were trying to cancel her for. And there were like a lot of reasons. But all that really told me was there were too many reasons. There was something else. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, cool. So, I'm going to check it out.
Anyway, it's a really good movie. Yeah,
I'm going to check it out. Well, thank you. So I'll give you guys my recommendation. Todd and I just watched this. This was on Netflix. We watched it on Saturday night. And it is called Echo Valley. This just came out a few months ago, starring Julianne Moore, which I love her. She plays a woman named Kate, and she is a divorcee. She was a hetero married woman, got divorced. And then she ended up, and they didn't go through how she fell in love with this woman. And I'm not even certain if they were married or they just lived together. But Julianne Moore was head over heels in love with this woman. they show her in bed in the morning, and it's like you don't really know what's going on, but you can tell like she doesn't want to get out of bed. And then I thought it was really cool how like the next thing you see is like there's a camera under the bed, and you see the feet. Like she's really debating about putting the feet on the floor every day. Like she's lost this woman that she fell in love with, and she's really having a difficult time getting on with her life. And this is like comes out later in the movie that it's like 9 months ago that the love of her life had died. Anyway, so she owns a big horse farm, hence the name Echo Valley. So she boards horses. She gives, riding lessons, like competitive riding lessons. She's kind of letting all that fall to the wayside because she just is having such a difficult time getting on with life. Well, she used to be married to, what's this guy's name? I wrote it down. Kyle MacLachlan. Do you remember him? He was like the original guy, like the original Dune guy. He was also in Sex and the City. That's like her ex. And like he's kind of busting her ass about why she doesn't have any money. Like you got to get your act together. And then he kind of touches a little bit about their daughter. Like you're always giving everything and to, their daughter, and she's a mess. She's in trouble. Well, the girl who plays the daughter, her name is Sydney Sweeney. She's relatively new, but I saw her in the movie Anyone But You, kind of within the last couple years. She's got a big drug problem. So that's the thing is like the daughter is, in her early 20s. She only pops in when she needs money, this and that, whatever. And then, Julianne, she's always like listening to her. She's always believing that she's going to finally get straight, or that, her daughter said she's clean, but she's not clean. And so it just kind of evolves from there, and it gets real dark. Bad shit happens. And I'm finding myself like, oh my God, stop believing your daughter. Like you can just tell she's still using drugs. You know what I mean? It gets super dark, super twisted. And you're just like, oh my God, no. And I don't want to give a whole bunch more from here, because if I do, it'll ruin it for you or anybody who wants to watch the movie. But just know that in the end, Julianne Moore is pretty fucking smart. And she turned the tables and did some crazy stuff. So I cannot recommend this movie enough. Totally loved it. It took me a minute to, it was kind of a slow start because I'm trying to figure out, well, where's this? What is going on with this scene here and that scene there? But then it's like, oh my God. And then Fiona Shaw is also in that movie. I don't know if you guys know her or not. She's the one who played Harry Potter's, I'll say stepmom, but it wasn't her mom. Do you know the mean lady with the, it was his mom's sister that Harry Potter lived with when he was little? That's her. The English lady with the nose. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Petunia.
Was her name Petunia? I love her.
Something like that.
She's an amazing actress. I've seen her in a few different things, but she's in it as well. Great movie. So that's my recommendation. Hopefully you guys will, or, either you guys on the call or maybe anybody out there who's listening to us, if you want something to watch, we have given you a bunch of new stuff to check out from all kinds of, all areas on the spectrum, really. I think we hit about everything that might hit someone's interest. So check them out. So anyway, thank you guys, and thank you everyone for coming back and listening. We hope you have a great week, and we will see you all back on Friday for F-Bomb. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye. Ciao for now.
Bye.
Later.
Bye, everyone.